What do you say, baseball fans? Rye Bread, Talking Baseball, Episode 5. Casual Tuesday here, Talking Baseball. My three strikes for today. I've got Glasnow dominating, Angels falling from heaven, and the boys from Motown winning in Houston. That was a nice surprise. So, Glasnow, 14 strikeouts, one walk against a beleaguered Texas lineup. They're not hitting well. They got no hit by Musgrove. I understand. They've faced a lot of good pitching. But I don't know if anybody was going to hit Glasnow last night. He's been using the slider, and it's been a revelation for him. It's taken him to a whole new stratosphere. He is appointment television. If Glasnow's pitching and you're a baseball fan, do a favor and figure out a way to watch the game. He's excellent. He's really taken the next step. He's getting ahead with this slider and punching people out with the curveball at an alarming rate. Before the game, he had thrown the curveball 18 times and had 7 strikeouts. And it only got more last night. Although he threw the curveball for a strike early in the count more often, he had those guys guessing. There was nothing they could do against Glasnow last night. He was demoralizing guys. People were looking silly up there at some point. I can't imagine what I would look like. I'm not dogging anybody. But he was brutal last night, the way he was doing guys. Like, oh, man. Some of these swings, they're going to want those back. It's like, no video on that one, please. He was excellent all night. I can't wait to watch him continue. He's a real contender for the Cy Young Award. He is a contender. He's just as likely as anyone else to win that award. He's so good. If you haven't seen him playing there in St. Petersburg and Tampa Bay, do yourself a favor and tune in when Glasnow's going. You will not be disappointed. He's awesome. If you didn't see him in the playoffs last year. But in the playoffs last year, he didn't have the slider like he does now. He's better. And it overshadowed a performance by the Rangers. Dane Dunning was outstanding. Dane. Strong Scandinavian name, that. He was ferocious. The Gator. He looked great against Toronto in his first start. Now he's on the road against the American League champions, and he stepped right in, man. He looked good. They took him out early. He's got arm problems. The Rangers are not going anywhere. Why waste it? I would remember I was a little bit excited. I was like, all right, finally, he's out of there. He's pitching too well. What are the Rays going to do against this guy? And then Taylor Hearn comes in. I'm like, oh, I never heard of this guy. We're going to make a lot of hay. And then I look at him, and I'm like, oh, he's a big dude. Turns out he's 6'6", 230. And he put every ounce of that 6'6", 230 behind the fastball, and you could hear the guy pitch. There are some guys that can just throw hard, but not maybe fast. A lot of dudes throw fast. Not as many can throw hard and fast. It's not like 95 on the gun is slow. But he was making 95 look like 105, the way that the Rays were swinging at it. Looking fastball, he was throwing hard. And there's not many people in the stands, so the mic is picking up the pop. It was a fun watch, because in those 3 innings, he struck out 7 guys. The only damage was that home run by Adames. And nobody needed a homer in a big spot more than Willie, because he pimp-strolled a fly ball at Fenway that, frankly, it wasn't even close, and he got tagged out, and it cost the team. You can't say it cost them the game, but it was damaging. It hurt them. And it was nice to see him come back in a big way. I think he's such an emotional player that something like this will propel him. So daily fantasy players might want to look at Willie Adames. Willie. He's going to be hitting better here in the next couple of days, I think. And I'm not sure if Texas has much more to offer than what we've seen already. So I expect Willie to heat up after this. He's an emotional player. In the heart of that team. I don't think anybody felt worse about strolling out that home run and getting tagged out than he did. He's a team guy. I don't want to run down Willie, because he's a spark plug, and he does a lot for that team as far as heart and soul stuff. He hurt him that time, but he got it back, so he's all to the good right now. The next thing I want to talk about in relation to hurt, the Angels. The Angels lost Dexter Fowler for the year. Yuck. And you look at Fowler's statistics, the sheet might not say how good of a player he is or how important he is to that club. I think that Dexter Fowler is more important to the Angels than the stat sheet would indicate. And he's going to be a bigger loss than anticipated. But they are good, and it's not going to derail their hopes. It's not great, but it doesn't end their season. If Rendon were to go down for this season, that's different. But this is a 10-day deal, apparently. According to Madden, he's going to be back in time for the 4-game set at Houston on April 22nd. That's the 10-day. They retroactively put him on a Monday, and he's going to come off on the 28th and would feasibly be ready to play at Houston. They finish this set with the Royals. Then they're going to play the Twins. They'll miss him against the Twins. Then they play the Rangers again. It's not awful. But it has to be said, groin injuries are stubborn. And if you come back too fast, we got to get him in there to play against Houston. We got to have our best guys for these matchups. I think you have to err on the side of caution here. If you've ever done your groin, it's a stubborn, not like that, it's a stubborn injury. I pulled a groin jumping out the back of a Humvee in pretty much full gear, helmet, flak, weapon, gas mask. And I caught the lava rocks at Pohalakaloa training area wrong. And I did a little mini split and did my groin. For the next 6 weeks, that was some of the most miserable time of my life. It's miserable out there anyway. It's a volcano, for crying out loud. It's 95 during the day and minus 40 at night or something crazy. It's stupid numbers. And I was hobbling around the whole time, and I could not fix that groin pull. It would get better for a couple days, and then I'd make a random move, and it would catch again. It's stubborn. I hope they're careful, because it's better for the game when Rendon is in it. So I don't expect the Angels to miss much if he comes back after that 10 or even 14, 2 weeks, whatever. I think it's better that they play it safe, but I'm not a GM and I'm not a doctor. He knows better than anyone. But he's an older player with, frankly, not the best injury history. So we have to be careful, keep an eye on Rendon. If Rendon comes back in the 10, 14-day window, the Angels are going to be fine. But if they have to miss him for an extended period, it's going to get tricky for them. They need him. Because Jose Rojas and Jack Mayfield are not going to carry the bat. They can field, like defensively, it'll be okay, but you can find a replacement level infielder to play defense. It's harder to find somebody you can hit. And Mayfield and Rojas have not shown so far in their career that they're going to be dangerous at the plate. So we'll keep an eye on it. For now, I'm pretty sure that the Angels are going to be okay, to wrap it all up. The last thing we're going to do today is we're going to talk Tigers in Houston. When Greinke's throwing 51-mile-per-hour pitches for strikes, called strikes, you probably think that Houston's going to win this game. That was something else. I don't remember seeing a called strike at that speed. I tried to look if that was the slowest called strike since they started keeping track of it. And it has to be in the conversation. 51? It's crazy. But 51 or 101, it doesn't matter if Akil Baddoo's in the batter's box. The dude is insane. But Casey Mize and Akil Baddoo were the story last night for the Tigers. Just more young talent coming up for the Tigers. They're loaded. If that pitching arrives ahead of schedule, the Tigers are going to be tough, and they're going to make the Central messy. Late games between the Twins and the White Sox are going to be exciting. But there's going to be a lot of scoreboard watching going on if the Tigers start to put it together with their young pitching. I don't expect that Spencer Torkelson will be up with the Tigers this year, but that guy can apparently just mash, like all-time expectations on this guy, Spencer Torkelson. So the Tigers have help on the way. Boyd has pitched well. Manning's in the minors working on his control, but he's supposedly the one with the biggest strikeout upside. So between Mize, the former number 1 overall pick, Skubal, who's great, he's funky, nasty stuff, he strikes a lot more guys out than he was supposed to. And if all these guys are arriving on schedule, you can fix your bullpen at the trade deadline easier in any other position. I'm not aware of another position that it's easier to fix your situation at the deadline because guys are going to get dealt if they're on non-contenders. So I don't really expect the Tigers to really make that big of a push, but I definitely think they're going to make it interesting. And I want to see the Tigers do well, and I'm loving watching Baddoo. It's just fun to say. The guy has an OPS of 1381. What? Yes, that's correct. 1381, the OPS for this guy. Now, we throw around these OPS, OBP numbers. I want to just... He's batting 368. 3 runs, 3 homers, 9 ribbies, and a bag. Just a bag. Why not? Why not steal a bag, too? The numbers are crazy, but the 1381 OPS is just gross. All right, OPS, very quickly, let's just do this in 1 minute. On base percentage, hits, walks, hit by pitch, divided by plate appearances. Now, if you lay a sack bunt, it doesn't count, but nobody sack bunts anymore, so it's not a big deal. Walks, hits, hit by pitch. This is how you accumulate on base percentage points, and it's divided by plate appearances, not at-bats. The slugging percentage is divided by official at-bats. Your total bases divided by your official at-bats gives you your slugging percentage. Total bases. A double is 2. A homer is 4. You take up all those total bases from all your hits, and then you divide that number by official at-bats, and you've got your slugging percentage. When you combine these two numbers, you get OPS, on base, plus slugging. And it is the metric, the general metric used to evaluate hitters now. It's the catch-all. It evaluates a lot of different skill sets. So OPS is like the quick reference hitters evaluation tool. And an OPS of 1381 is not sustainable, but it's amazing at the same time. From the guy who hit the first pitch he ever saw in the bigs for a bomb. I'm so excited to watch Baddoo play. I'm so excited to watch this young pitching staff for the Tigers come into their own. And a side note for OBP, getting on base doesn't affect your OBP. It doesn't really make sense. If you reach on an error or you reach on a fielder's choice, that doesn't raise your on-base percentage. It lowers it. The only way your on-base goes up is if you walk, get hit by a pitch, or get a hit. You do not accumulate on-base percentage points just by reaching base. That's a common misconception. And this stat was created by Branch Rickey of the Dodgers. Guy made a couple of contributions, huh? Break the color barrier is on the marquee. Where it belongs, and my goodness, good on him. But it shouldn't be forgotten that Alan Roth and Branch Rickey came up with OBP in the 40s, and now it's like the most important stat for analytics. It's an important piece of trivia there. So Branch Rickey, icon, breaks the color barrier, and then, side note, OBP. So remember that. Another trivia, the old Brooklyn Trolley Dodgers. You want to test if somebody's a bandwagon Dodger fan, ask them where the name came from. The Tigers are interesting and exciting. I'm from here. My first game was a Tiger game. The then AL East foe Jays came to town when I was a youngster. My dad took me to the matinee. It was the first time I heard the sound of wood bats crushing baseballs in the echo of old Tiger Stadium with the chatter in the background. It was like an orchestra of gorgeous sounds. And I was forever smitten with baseball ever since. So seeing the Tigers do well is absolutely awesome for me and for the city of Detroit, who could use a pick-me-up, right? So wrap it all up for today. Glasnow is an animal. The Angels are going to be okay as long as Rendon doesn't push it and comes back at a regular time. The Angels are fine. They're doing well. They're going to make a push for the pennant. And then finally, the Tigers arriving ahead of schedule with their pitching staff and making things interesting there in the Central. Please get at me on Twitter at Rybread0844. And before we leave, thank you, Bascom's Chop House in Clearwater, Florida. It's about 15 minutes from the Trop. If you're ever down there watching a game, head over to Bascom's. It's the best steakhouse in Tampa Bay. They beat Burns. They are the best steakhouse in Tampa Bay. It's awesome. Go in there and get yourself a nice steak. Thank you for supporting the podcast out there. We'll see you all next time. We're going to do 162. Good day.